Good afternoon, everyone. Very pleased that you've joined us for this town hall meeting. I hope this format works and we're able to get through some questions today. I thought I would start out first of all by extending gratitude in these unprecedented times. There's so many people that we have to thank today, particularly our staff here and our parents. We live in a great community and work in a great community. And if you haven't felt love, hope, and inspiration in the last couple of days, you certainly would have yesterday, as you saw at our buildings how hard our staff was working, our support staff, our food service folks, our volunteers from the fire department, and making sure that we're able to meet the needs of our community. Yesterday alone, we handed out, because it's over the course of 4 days. So just simply a lot of gratitude, not only for our community, but also for our partners in the governor's office, at Mayor Barnett's office, who's been great in making sure that we have relevant information all the way from Washington, D.C. To the state level and county. And of course, all of our legislators federally as well as the state. They've been a big help in making sure that we've had great information to be able to make good decisions on. Let's start out really by kind of just summarizing where we've been and the decisions that we've made over the last couple of weeks. First of all, I want just, if you're not aware of it, the planning and collaboration that's gone into this process. We've been very, very fortunate to have our labor union leaders involved in this as partners, and they've been extremely helpful. I'm losing track of time now, quite frankly, because we're working so many hours and so many days, but we formed a task force a while back, and we were able to collaborate with a school district on the West Coast who was a lot like us, who had already been through a closure and through an effort to conduct some online learning. I'm not naming that school district because they've asked me not to name them, but I want you to know that this planning had gone on with our task force for quite a while in anticipation of how we would not only deal with the school closure, but plan for really the level of danger that existed in our community and our school district, particularly in terms of closure. We were fortunate enough as we collaborated with the school district on the West Coast to benchmark the document that many of you have seen that involved. Sorry, we have an ambulance going by. We're in the conference room at the administration building, which you know is close to the hospital. Apologize for that. So as you know, we're with the school district that we were collaborating with. They suggested that we asked people to self-report because we knew that we weren't be able to get quick, timely information out of the county health department for a lot of different reasons. So as our team continued to work on getting things in place for distance learning, we were also making decisions in terms of closure and what that would look like going forward. The process in earnest for deciding to close Rochester from the community, and I started to have a fuller understanding of where the potential exposure might be or could be. By about 5 o'clock that evening, we had a pretty clear picture. With the help of Mayor Barnett, I was able to get on a couple of briefings at the federal level that helped fill out the broader picture for me. And quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, at that point, I thought it was most prudent. The best way to protect our children was to close Rochester Community Schools. As you know, the governor closed all the schools in the state at about 11 p.m. that evening. And we, on Friday, decided quickly to move forward with our distance learning plan, which is quite complex. And we'll get a little bit more on that in a few minutes as we get into the questions that you've submitted. I did want to touch base, though, on the shutdown of the district, and thank you for self-reporting and thanking you for continuing to self-report. It really helps inform our practice in terms of keeping your children safe. Ladies and gentlemen, I do want to acknowledge, and I'll acknowledge this many times in this webinar, I'm a parent. I have 3 children at home. Unfortunately, I have to go move my son out of Grand Valley by the end of next week because they've gone to remote learning for the rest of the year. I have 2 school-age children, and I certainly understand the stress and pressure that you're feeling at home as you're trying to juggle your jobs, trying to juggle this new normal of parenting, and trying to juggle the uncertainty that is this COVID-19 coronavirus threat to us all. So I just want to acknowledge that. And as we move forward, I want to make sure that we're focused on kids and doing what's right for kids. And that means all of us understanding that we're in a new normal, that we've all suffered a loss, and just to take the time to process that. But I want to shift gears, just public health emergency. I've heard that from many sources today. As you know, there are many unknowns. You're going to hear me many times today in this town hall say, I simply don't know. And that's because the variables and things are changing by the moment. We'll keep you informed as much as we possibly can. If you're not getting the information, it's simply because we don't have it, and we're seeking it. So again, it's really, really important that all of us use universal precautions. It's important that we follow the guidelines that the president, the governor, and the Center for Disease Control have set, and to really set our priorities to make sure that we're limiting the number of cases and limiting the spread. There is a possibility here, I'm told, from the Centers of Disease Control and from officials at the federal level, that we really have an opportunity to really flatten the disease curve more quickly if we're all able to engage in these universal precautions. So please do so, and please understand we are in unprecedented times. So what I'd like to kind of go into before we get into the questions is just really talk a little bit about the complexity of the situation that we're in and our priorities. As we see them, I think our priorities really start with safety, and I hope you're feeling that. The staff of this school district, they love your kids. They simply care about them very much. They want to see the very best for them. And everyone is working diligently, not only to maintain their safety, but also to maintain their continuity of instruction and those strong relationships they have with your kids. But it is a complex situation. And let me say this, no amount of virtual connection can replace an in-person relationship that we have every day with kids. We strongly believe that a highly skilled, loving, caring teacher in front of children is the best way to educate kids. Simply put, as Bill Daggett would say, you can't replace that with an algorithm. So I mentioned earlier, we've served a large number of meals, and we'll continue to do that. Those meals are available to anyone in the community 18 years of age or younger. You don't have to be registered, although we'd like you to let us know so we can plan. But anyone under 18, you don't have to be a Rochester Schools resident or a student, just we'll be able to feed you. So we've done that, and we're working on that, and we'll continue to work on that. And again, it was so impressive yesterday to see all of the people in the community helping out. Also, tech resources. We want to make sure that we're able to reach all of the kids that we possibly can. We always say all means all, and we want to make sure that it continues even in a virtual environment. So far, again, we've handed out 1,000 Chromebooks and 100 hotspots. We've also guided folks with other options to get internet access. If you have a need for tech, please let us know, and we will help you get that. If you're having a problem with tech, we have 2 ways that you can get help. You can get help at remote learning at rochesterschools.k12.mi.us, or you can call our tech support hotline at 248-726-3099. And that came out on an email to you all today with the video that I did. I hope I'm not inundating you with videos and information. I know how anxious folks are. I know how we feel at home with our own children. And I know sometimes seeing a familiar face and just being able to talk through things helps. So we'll try to do this as much as we possibly can within the parameters that we have. So we've talked about basic needs. We've talked about tech resources. And now we really like to talk about connections and relationships. Our first order of business with our remote learning is really to reestablish our connections with our students and those strong relationships. I can't say it enough. Our students, particularly our seniors in high school, are feeling a great loss, and we need to make sure we help them process that we help them work through that, and really help them work through the unknown. As I said earlier, there's going to be a lot of I don't knows today, and simply because there's so many variables at play with this public health emergency. And equally, and these really aren't these are all fluid situations that are really interdependent. So when we talk about safety, basic needs, tech resources, connections and relationships, and social emotional health, it's really a continuum of things that we're working on all at the same time. I assure you that that our staff is working almost around the clock to make sure that they can connect with your kids and that they have everything that they need in these very challenging times. I also, if you're not aware of it, ladies and gentlemen, just as we ask for patience and understanding as we navigate the unknown and the ambiguous, understanding the complexity of our school district might help. If you're not aware of it, we're the largest school district in Oakland County. We have about 15,500 kids. We cover 66 square miles, and we encompass 6 municipalities. We're working really diligently to try to make things as systemic as possible so we can reach all kids and stick to our mantra of all means all. But it's very difficult, and it will require your patience. Quite simply put, we've never done this before. If you're talking to colleagues or friends in other school districts and you feel like they're doing more or something different, I assure you that across this county, the superintendents are collaborating. And I can also assure you that that Rochester Community Schools has led in this arena. Although you may not feel that because you're not able to see the complexity behind the scenes. And quite frankly, you shouldn't. You expect us to deliver high quality services to your kids, and we're focused on doing that and supporting your children. I want to reiterate, remote learning cannot replace a classroom interaction, and remote learning is not going to replace 6 hours of school during the day. There are a lot of complexities to this, and we'll get to those in the question and answer part of this. But I really just want to commend our teachers. This was a moral imperative that we felt across our school district with our support staff, with our paras, with our teachers, that they felt compelled to stay connected with your children and really continue the learning the best that we possibly can. There are a lot of questions about grading. There's a lot of questions about graduation and other things, and we'll get to those. But what we need to do first, ladies and gentlemen, is make sure we ensure those connections with your kids. It's really important. So shall we jump into the questions? I think that would be a good place to go now. Really appreciate it. So what we did yesterday with our staff, we did a town hall like this yesterday with our staff. And what we did is simply just walk through the questions and answer them. And we'll also put a frequently asked questions out to the community. That'll help clear some of this up if you didn't catch it the first time. And we're also videotaping this so you can watch it again. And I can watch myself and be very embarrassed about watching myself on video, especially when I'm extremely tired, because I'm certain my parents are going to watch this and say, you look tired. Nonetheless, trying to have a little fun here, ladies and gentlemen, in a very heavy environment. I hope you're not offended by that. So first question, are the days of virtual instruction counted towards the minimum 180 days required by Michigan law? If not, will we be looking at extending the school year into the summer, or is there a plan to petition the state to waive the requirements this year? And that's from Chris Parker. And Chris, we really appreciate the question, and I hope you and your family are doing well. We don't have enough information on this yet. We have submitted plans. We do have a plan to do distance learning and be able to account for our students that way in terms of state funding. I simply don't know if that's going to be adopted. We don't know what the rest of the school year looks like. I know many of you have looked at places like Kansas and Texas, and you know that they've already, in Florida, and they've already closed their schools for the year. We will continue to communicate with you as information becomes available. Again, I think the most important thing we can do for our kids right now is give them a sense of normalcy, set a great example for them of how to maneuver through a crisis, and to keep them safe and connected to their teachers and build those strong relationships that they've already started to build. How stringent will daily logins be? I'm wondering how scheduling will work with several children needing to use the computer each day. These are questions that we all have. And I'm not saying this to be trite, ladies and gentlemen. Patience is at a premium here. We simply don't know. We haven't done this before. And we also have to assume that some of us, unfortunately, are going to get ill, including our teaching staff. And that's going to change the entire way we do business. We're going to have to really roll with the punches, see if we can pick up the slack for folks that are down ill and help them make sure that they can get well and not have them feel pressure to do something they shouldn't be doing when they're sick. And the other part of it is we all have children at home, and we have to manage that as well as do our day jobs. So this is difficult on everybody, and we'd ask for patience and flexibility and fluidity. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm looking at an IFP screen in my office, if you're wondering why I'm looking off into the distance. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, are these days off, or as the students, or are the, sorry, start again. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, are these days off, or are the students required to do some sort of work? What are your expectations for those days? If there is a reason that we're not waiting till Monday to, is there a reason that we're not waiting till Monday to start off a fresh week of this home learning? Ladies and gentlemen, I guess there's a couple answers built into that one question. We're not looking at Tuesdays and Thursdays as days off. We're looking at them for our counselors to touch base with kids, for our special education staff to do the things that they need to do, and also for our social workers and other support staff to do the things that they need to do. Students will have scheduled work on those days. Again, but we need to learn about this and be flexible as we go. We've just never done this at this scale. We've had teachers that have used these platforms. Many of our teachers use these platforms on a regular basis, but they don't use it as their main mode of education. And we've never done it in a health emergency. The CDC is saying that 4 weeks is not enough, and we should be looking at 8 to 12 weeks of physical distancing. If our kids are not going to get virtual teaching like an online school, should we be looking to move to an online school until RCS is back in session, possibly for the next grade level? I would urge you to stick with us at this point. There's going to be direction from the state of Michigan, and they're going to have to give us some guidance on in terms of not only what the school year looks like, but also what content will be counted and how we move forward and matriculate kids through the system. We have some flexibility with high school seniors. That's something that we can work through. And as we continue to start our online learning, this is going to be a good pathway forward so we can see where the feedback needs to help us change things. Potentially, if there's a longer closure, how we move to a distance learning model that may offer us a little bit more structure and a little bit more identified outcomes. So we're just going to have to wait and see. Thank you, Joe, for that question. I hope you and your family are doing well. Let's see, only 3 days a week with 2 hours each day is obviously very little. Some other school districts start already on Monday and doing 3 to 4 hours each day with Google Classroom and interacting with teachers so they can learn. Will you make a stronger program so kids can learn efficiently? I have a couple reactions to that question as I answer it. Again, I want to urge folks to understand that we've been collaborating not only outside of the state, but inside of the state with our school districts in the county here. And albeit other school districts may be doing things differently because of their culture and their structure, I assure you that we're all doing things that are very similar in the delivery. We are asking for maximum flexibility. We are the largest school district in the county. Our teachers have never done this at scale. Our community's never done this at scale. We're really trying initially to connect with kids, make sure they feel supported, particularly make sure they don't feel pressure when they've experienced a loss, and that they really have that feel for the school, the classroom and the school community. We'll move forward with expectations as we get this up and running. But it's really, really important that we acknowledge that our kids' first need is social emotional, along with their safety and the safety of our staff. And again, what also will play into this is in terms of when people have to take care of loved ones, maybe they're medically fragile, or maybe they get sick, unfortunately. For students who want to continue their schoolwork instead of having enrichments, can this option be provided? We would prefer to get this through RCS rather than seek online instruction elsewhere. Education and learning are very important in our family, and we don't want to miss 3 months. I appreciate where you're coming from. I hope everyone feels that we're doing this because we take our work very seriously. Education is a relational business, not a transactional business. And we take what we do very seriously. I don't know where the word enrichments is coming from. If you're hearing that in our buildings, please let us know. What we intend, ladies and gentlemen, is our teachers to provide education to your students at a level that is commensurate with what they've been learning. In terms of grading, We're asking our teachers to hold students harmless at this point until we get more direction and understanding of how long this closure is going to be and what the impact is. And we're also asking again to really consider the amount of pressure that we're putting on kids as they've experienced a loss. I can tell you what's going on in my house with my 3 children. My son's working on his college courses online, which was really a big shock to all of us. When he showed up back at home, we knew he was coming home. We didn't really think that Grand Valley would close down so quickly through the end of the year. And I know that's stressful for him. My two school-age kids, particularly my youngest one, who often on Sunday night is the one that says, I want to get up for school in the morning because she likes to sleep. She's been doing schoolwork every day. And that's been interesting to me. And what that indicates to me is, as much as they say they don't like school, they love school, they love their teachers, and they love the interaction, and they miss it. So we're going to really work to make sure we build those relationships and support each other because of these uncertain times. Giving credit for material they didn't learn. Yet Michigan's graduation requirements mandate 4 years of math and ELA. RCS requires 22 credits, but missing a semester means only 121 credits. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I want to give you permission just to kind of let that go for the time being. I'm working diligently with the Department of Education, our legislators in the governor's office, and Oakland schools to make sure we address these issues. And some of this, it's just not timely to make those decisions yet. I really want to give you permission to spend time with your kids when you can, make sure we have that connection with them, and really offer them the support that they need in these unprecedented times. Other states are already virtual teaching and seem to be grading accordingly to ensure maximum opportunity to catch up and not affect all of the summer break. What is preventing us from following this trend, or what needs to happen to execute this strategy? Well, again, ladies and gentlemen, I can only control what I can control, and there's a lot of variables right now. As you know, other states' schools have been closed longer than ours, and we're trying to ascertain what's going on in those states and how we might move forward. But really, it's too early to say what's going to happen with spring break, what's going to happen with summer break, which days are going to be forgiven, and how we're going to account for students. And as for grading, I think we have a unique opportunity as educators right now, as parents. As much as we all focus on grading, and grading is important, particularly those for our kids that are headed off to college and competing for those scholarships and those academic accolades, which we hold high value to. It's also an opportunity for us to focus on the social emotional side of our business, and also to really, really think deeply about how kids learn and what keeps them connected to school. So as much as this is an inconvenience, as much as it's a challenge to all of us, it's also an opportunity for us to really hone our skills and to seek more knowledge as educators. What is the plan for secondary elective classes like gym? We're going to put a frequently asked questions document out to you, and we'll provide guidance for classes like that. I know things like our band and orchestra teachers are already doing things on Moodle and giving kids things to practice. I think there's going to be some really unique things that happen in terms of creativity, using things like Zoom and Google Classroom and YouTube to do some really unique stuff. I actually look forward to being able to read to kids again, and we're going to use Facebook and YouTube Live to be able to reach out to classrooms and do some March's reading month activities. It certainly won't be like my normal visit to classrooms, but I certainly look forward to it. It does get pretty lonely around here with only a few people working in the building, since most people are working remotely. Are kids expected to be at the computer at 8 a.m., or is this the time when work will be posted? Will the teachers be live and available for that day for questions? Again, this is some guidance. We're going to have to work through this. We have working parents. We have parents that are taking care of potentially sick loved ones or medically fragile folks. And we're just really going to have to work through this and really be patient with each other and communicate. If we're doing something that doesn't work for you because of your work schedule or because of an unforeseen circumstance, we need to hear from you. You can use the talk to us feature. You can certainly call us. You can reach out to your student's teacher or your building principal. But we're going to have to work through this together. There's just so many unknowns. Do you have any recommendations that can drive home the point to students that school closing does not equate to vacation or time off, especially with the very limited remote learning schedule and the fact that students are not going to be graded? Again, I hope our students build those strong connections with our teachers. I hope our teachers are able to engage with students that motivate them to want to be connected and learn. It simply isn't vacation. It's a public health emergency, and that's why we're home. And to that end, again, I want to reaffirm that we need to be following those universal precautions and the guidance given to us by the governor's office as well as the CDC. This is a public health emergency, and we need to treat it as such. We're on the topic of grades. Why are students not receiving grades? How will this impact their overall GPA if they are working toward raising their grade? Will this hold anyone back from finishing their current grade level? What about the seniors? Will they be able to graduate? A lot of questions there, Alina. I appreciate that. I sense the anxiety in your questions, and I share it. This is tough. These are tough times, and I guarantee you there's many parents that are feeling the same thing that you are. Students are not receiving grades right now for a myriad of reasons. First and foremost, we want to make sure we get kids into a routine. They feel comfortable with it, and they're not feeling added pressure, particularly after the loss of not being able to come to school, not being able to interact with their friends and their teachers in a way they normally would. We simply want to start this off with connecting with relationships and getting education moving. And then as we know more about what the break looks like, how long we'll be off, we can start to think about what distance learning looks like. And then something that you folks don't need to worry about, but something that keeps me up at night, is how we account for our time and how we receive funding for that time, and how your kids are able to matriculate through the grades. I can tell you this: our seniors are not in danger of not graduating because of seat time. I'm not worried about that at all. I'm more worried about and feel sorry for them at this point, because there's so many unknowns about their senior year. There's so many benchmarks in a child's senior year as they go through, for parents and kids. And I feel sorry for all of us that, there's the potential, at least, that we won't be able to experience them, at least in the same way we normally would. We really need to focus, though, on what we can control now and what we can work on now. Those answers will come in the days and weeks ahead. Let me get another drink of water, sorry. RCS seems poised to implement a very cool system where teachers could tell if students were interacting and learning from their instruction. This has all changed. Ladies and gentlemen, again, this is a very, very complex situation in terms of pupil accounting regulations, what's going to count for seat time, and we're working through that. I'm not saying at this point it won't. I'm simply saying I don't know, and I want to make sure I give our teachers and ourselves as an organization maximum flexibility to meet those requirements. And we can still track whether kids are on or not. What happens about the quarters that ends April 2nd? Grades. Will the semester be extended, or are the grades as they stand? We'll know more in the days to come, ladies and gentlemen. I know that's right around the corner. We just simply don't have enough information to make a decision on that now. I'm sorry about that. Teachers are assigning work saying it's mandatory. Will schoolwork be optional, mandatory, or at the teacher's discretion? Well, we'd like you to encourage your kids to engage with their teachers, stay connected, and of course do the work and get the assessment and feedback on it. We also realize that many people are experiencing challenges that just simply are going to be very difficult for them to meet those expectations. Whether you're a healthcare worker, a sanitation worker, whether you're someone that's working in an essential field and your hours have been expanded, or you're taking care of a loved one, there's a lot that's going to impact this, and we're simply going to have to be flexible and work together. But please, please, please encourage your kids to stay involved, encourage your kids to stay connected, and let's get through this together as a community, as a team, as neighbors. Will elementary report cards be posted next week? We'll get that on the FAQ. It's a little bit, believe it or not, it's a little bit more complicated of a question than it appears to be. I believe the answer to that is no, but I will let you know and frequently asked questions. Karen, can you scroll down? I think I missed a question. Will current grades go into students' GPAs since during remote learning there are no grades? We're still working through that. Because we're holding kids harmless at this point doesn't mean there's not going to be grades. It means I don't know what the future looks like. I don't know how long the break's going to be. I don't know what direction from the state of Michigan is going to be in terms of that. And it's really going to require some collaboration on part of the county superintendents, the state superintendents, and the Michigan Department of Education. We'll let you know just as soon as we know. Will our district be following the CDC's recommendations for 8 weeks off of school? Thank you for the question, Terry. I think I appreciate you asking it. I will tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, I acted as I did last Thursday because I thought it was in the best interest of your children. I will continue to do that. I'm not going to wait around for direction elsewhere. I'm going to lead the way on this. We are going to lead the way on this. I don't mean to say I'm blessed to work with a team of people that are second to none. But I want you to know that we're going to do what's right to keep your kids protected the best we possibly can. I simply don't know what the break's going to be and how long it's going to be. We are aware of the CDC guidelines. We're continuing to monitor our own local data and also watch what's going on across our nation. And because of our partnerships with our legislators in Washington, in Lansing, as well as with our great partnership with Mayor Barnett, I'm able to see some information that possibly other leaders in my position are not. So again, we'll make a decision when the time comes, but I can tell you this, I won't make a decision with your children that I wouldn't make with my own. Will there be an extension to the school year? I think we're, as my grandma would say, we're getting the cart before the horse there. We just really need to think about the next couple of days. If you think about it, we're, I don't know, in day 3 or 4 of this, and we're really just getting used to it as the new normal. Again, we will communicate with you as that information becomes available. And if you felt, again, I want to say this again, if you felt like maybe someone's hiding information or hasn't provided information, I want you to know if we haven't provided you information, it's because we don't have it. There's no time and no place right now to keep information from the public in an emergency like this. Not that we ever would, but if there ever is a time not to do it, it's now. Talking about spring break, is there a chance of spring break being moved to coincide with the current mandatory shutdown of school imposed by the state? I don't know that. If you're not aware of it, our calendar is a mandatory subject to bargaining with our labor groups, particularly with our MEA unit, and we would collaborate with our partners in the MEA to work that out if we're asked to do so. We have not been asked to do so at this point, and if just really think about what you're seeing happen in other states and really watch the data of what's going to happen locally here in the next few days. Is the district considering any mandatory or optional summer learning due to the missed time? It's just too soon to answer that question, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. Many of you heard President Trump say that this could go into June, July, or August. I just don't have the answer to that. And I'm really sorry that I keep saying that, but I want to be as direct and honest with you as I can. If I don't have the answer, I'm just not going to give you one. We will get you the information when we can. Hi, if school remains closed through June, what is the process for assessing if a student moves on to the next grade? And if they all move on, will the curriculum start at the new grade level or where they finish the schoolwork from the previous grade? Those are things that, as you imagine, those are the things that keep me up at night on a regular basis, and we're working through. We're blessed to have a great team of teachers and administrators and in a community that cares. We'll get through this together. We'll work it out. And we'll work those things out and communicate those answers to you when we have them. Do we have a plan for kindergarten registration? We are in the process of implementing online registration, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's going to be really a nice feature even after this is over with. And it will be over with someday. We will get through it together. And more information will be communicated on that next week. Hope I missed a question again. Bifocals, you know. If we do intend to return to school before the year is over, will we have the option to continue to learn remotely if we decide as a family that we're not comfortable with returning yet? Again, we'll make that decision as a community, as a team. And we're already thinking about what reentry might look like. We haven't made any decisions on it, but we are having those conversations. We do believe that because of what we're doing, reentry will be a lot better for our kids than maybe what other children are experiencing, other school districts who are not engaged and committed like our staff is. We are beginning to hear rumblings that our teachers are only being paid for 3 weeks at this time, and that the Senate did not process anything to help us at this time. Is there anything you need us to do to support teachers right now? Contact senators, et cetera. It's too early, ladies and gentlemen. I can tell you this: everyone in this organization is receiving a paycheck, and there's plans to continue them receiving a paycheck. If there's ever a time to understand why fund balance is important in an organization our size, in a business our size, this is a good time for that understanding. We are in a good business position because of the leadership of the Board of Education and our strategic focus on our business operations. So our staff is getting paid. They'll continue to get paid. And just at this point, I would say we need to just watch what's going to happen in the next few days. I do understand the Senate left town without approving a forgiveness bill. And I'm engaged in that conversation, not only at the county level, but at the state. And we'll continue to work with our partners to affect change there. Is there any way for me to volunteer? If the best thing I can do right now is stay home, is there a way I can help volunteer from home, tutoring, answering students' questions on science and math? This is an engineer by the name of Karen. Karen, we so appreciate your willing to help. There are ways to help. If you would visit our website, we'll have that on there. Sorry, I'm going back and forth between screens. We'll have that on our website, and there will be opportunities. Things are going to start to be needed like that again as we meet the uncertainties of this public health emergency. Thank you so much for offering. I'm worried for our RCS administration, from the top to our billing administrators. Are you modeling mindfulness? I know this is unprecedented, and I know that the community has many needs come up, but we have principals who are at high risk and are working till 10 p.m. and they're back at it the next morning. I so appreciate you acknowledging that, and I hope I didn't gloss over this earlier. The gratitude that we've received from this community is very meaningful. The fact that you recognize that people are working day and night for your children means a lot to us. That's why we do what we do. We do it because we love your children and we care about them. We're doing the best we possibly can. I think I'd probably be not telling the truth if I told you I was practicing mindfulness. Maybe in the next couple of days, I'll be able to do that. But let me assure you that I'm fine, and I appreciate your support. And we're putting the time in because we care about your kids. This is a heavy question from Joelle, and I appreciate you asking it. In light of the suicide epidemic, what measures are being made and put in place by our district social and emotional wellness committee to check in with students who are now further isolated to help support mental health during a time of great fear and uncertainty? There's a couple of answers to this question, and there's a lot of work to be done with it, quite frankly. First of all, we've put out some resources to help you talk to your kids about uncertainty and about the public health emergency that we're working with right now. Moreover, our social emotional wellness committee is working to reach out to kids. And let me say this, our main intent with our remote learning is to maintain those connections with kids. That's why we're trying to provide time on Tuesdays and Thursdays for social workers to connect with kids, with counselors to connect with kids. We're working diligently to connect. I know I talked to Mrs. Roberts this morning over at Hart, and she's connecting with 10 kids a day and talking to them on the phone. And she said, quite frankly, she thinks it's better for her mental health than maybe it is for the kids, because she misses the connection with her students. So we'll keep those connections going. If you have feedback on that, please forward it to us. We are working diligently with it, and it's everybody's job in this community to make sure that we're not putting undue pressure on our kids right now. We're giving them tools to process this uncertainty and process this incident as we continue to work through it. These are very difficult times for our kids, even if they seem like they're fine. Like, my kids, not any different any other day with their faces in their device and doing the things they do around the house. But I know that they're feeling it. I know your kids are feeling it too. So let's just be aware, make sure we're not putting extra pressure on kids, and then we'll work together to make sure we're meeting their social emotional needs. Thank you so much for asking that question. How does this affect our senior class of 2020? Well, I think it's already affected them, and it's going to be up to us as a community to do whatever we can to make their senior year the best we possibly can. We're going to have to think outside the box on this one and get creative, and we'll do it together as a community. We'll make sure these seniors have the celebration that they're due, one way or another. We're just going to have to work it out and work together, and that's something that we'll work on in the future. Will senior activities, proms, commencements, all-night parties be affected or canceled? Katie, thanks for asking that question. I don't know if this is a student or a parent. If it's a student, I'm sorry and I feel for you. If it's a parent, I'm sorry and I feel for you. I had a senior last year, and I know how special that senior year is and how quickly it goes by. We just simply don't know at this point. And please stay tuned. We'll get that information out to you as soon as we can. Is there one single location where all updates and emails can be posted, please? We are getting information from multiple directions and missing some. When we are working all day, we would like to be able to go to one location at lunch at the end of the day or catch up on all our notifications. Whoever asked this question, if you wouldn't mind, if you either call my office or our community relations office and just give us a little bit more feedback on this. I hope our website and our social media platforms are providing that for you, but it sounds like it's not meeting your needs. But if you could give us some more context on that, we'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. The questions being asked here, will you provide the answers on the website? Yes, we will. We'll put it in an FAQ format, and this is also being videoed. We also noticed yesterday that we had some bandwidth issues. This computer that I'm on is hardwired, but we know we had some jump and some shake yesterday because of our bandwidth issues. So if that's the case, please refer to the FAQ. And again, we'll have this video also online. Will final exams at the end of the semester in June still take place? And will students be required to take them? I just don't know the answer to that at this point. We are in uncharted territory, and this is going to require us to be very flexible, very creative. Right now, we're asking that we hold kids harmless with their grades, because we simply need to find out what lies ahead, and we'll know in the next couple days and weeks. If you're not aware of it, ladies and gentlemen, I would urge you to go to the CDC website tonight, review what the president said today and what Vice President Pence has said, along with the county health department. It's important information, and I think it'll put things in perspective and give you some context. How will AP exams being handled? If they are canceled, will refunds be made? We are working with the College Board. There's a couple of issues with SAT and AP, and we're working with the College Board in the state of Michigan. When we get that direction and we have the understanding of what direction they're moving in, we will communicate with you. We just don't know at this point. I know my daughter's worried about her AP exams as well. Will exam for credit tests still be offered in time for placement in classes in the fall? That's an excellent question. We'll get you an answer on that. That's something that, quite frankly, wasn't on our radar at this point. MSTEP, we just don't know. We've received little or no direction from the state of Michigan on this. If I go back to the MSTEP question, please. Also, will there be MSTEP exams to decide if the kids are promoted to the next grade? I've heard no talk about using testing to promote kids to the next grade. I don't think that will be the case. Will the third graders still have to take the MSTEP? Again, I just don't know. Fifth graders, is the advanced math assessment still planned for the current year? We'll get information out for you on that as we move forward. Special education. What is being done to help students with IEPs work toward their goals? Again, ladies and gentlemen, this is a difficult situation. We're doing our very best to meet the needs of all of our students, whether they're special populations like special education, English as a second language, and our free and reduced lunch students. What is being done to help students with IEPs work towards their goals? Our special education teachers and our ancillary staff continue to work with our students remotely during the closure. This support looks differently for each student, and we're working through it. However, all students with IEP should receive some regular engagement with their service providers. And if that's not happening, please contact us. It's very, very important that we're meeting the needs to the best of our ability of all of our students. For special ed students who are now missing out on services they need, is there a plan being worked on? Again, we're working on this as a team. We'll get you more information in the days and weeks to come. Another special education question. My child is special education. Will my child have access to online learning? How will related services, OT, PT, speech be provided? Finally, if school is still out when my child's IEP is scheduled, what will happen? Our special education teachers and ancillary staff continue to support students remotely to the best of their abilities during the closure. That support looks differently, of course, for each and every student, and we need to make sure we stay connected so we're meeting your needs the best we possibly can and the needs of your students. Students with IEPs should receive regular engagement with their providers. Some providers have set up Google Classrooms, others have planned communications by way of email, video, and telephone. This is really important. If you have an IEP scheduled during the closure, a member of your child's IEP team will reach out to discuss the plan for holding that meeting. I know that causes a lot of concern for folks, so we want to make sure we get that information to you. Meal assistance. The overwhelming response to the food program includes families who would not otherwise qualify. Why was this extra extension made without a first pass outreach to administrators for extenuating circumstances? The cost will have to be absorbed somewhere, and we need to be prudent. That's a great question, and it's also a great way to demonstrate the complexity of managing and leading a public education system. Our school lunch program is highly regulated by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and the district is reimbursed for much of it. It's wrought with regulation, so we can err on the side of caution and get as much support to the community as we can. So no need to worry about the food in terms of being against our bottom line in terms of our general fund. But I'm also here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this entire emergency is going to be expensive. But right now we're not worried about that. Right now we're focused on making sure our kids are safe, both physically and socially and emotionally. And we'll work that out together with the governor's office, with the legislature, and with the federal government in the days and weeks to come. Going forward, if a parent loses their job and needs assistance, will they be able to sign up for the meal assistance at a later date since the sign up had a cutoff date? Yes, the sign up is really just for planning purposes for us. So we know how many meals to prepare and we know where to deliver them to, so we can make sure it's convenient for the folks that need to pick them up. Again, any child under 18, whether they're our student or not, can receive food from our school district over the next few weeks or months, however long it takes. We'll continue to provide that. You can contact us at 248-726-4618, or you can email us at focfoodservice at Rochester, sorry, I'm losing my voice, at rochester.k12.mi.us. Planning. Are parents involved with the decision-making that's been and will be taking place during the crisis, involved on task forces? We actually, on our planning task force, we did have the PTA with us in that process. As we move forward and we get to stabilization here and move towards operating in this new normal, we are considering ways to involve more parents, particularly in getting feedback on our remote learning strategies. See, we are on question number 57, if you're wondering, or if you're counting. What would be the protocol or chain of communication if one of the Rochester Community Schools staff, family members, students is confirmed with the virus? This is complicated and becoming more complicated by the day because of the shift by the CDC from mitigation to community mitigation. We'll try to get more information on our FAQ about that, but I think it would probably take me a half hour to answer that question, and I would probably simply confuse most of the public. We'll try to get a concise answer in our FAQ. Know this, the self-reporting information that you provided and continue to provide helps us make decisions to keep our kids and our staff safe. The information that you provided last Thursday helped us make a timely decision to keep our staff and our students safe. I want to thank you. Actually, someone in Lansing said to me on Thursday night, I hope you know that you probably saved lives by doing what your team did and your community did. And we were, by and large, supported by our community, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to thank you for that, and I want to thank you for your support. Are there any restrictions on families and or teachers driving out of state during this time? I would again ask you to look at the CDC guidelines. I don't know if there are any restrictions. I would ask you to be prudent and lean on each other and support each other and make sure we keep each other safe by following those guidelines. I know I've said it 3 or 4 times. We are in a public health emergency, and we need to follow those guidelines if at all possible. What do we do if we're having technical issues with software or Chromebooks that we get? Once again, remote learning at rochester.k12.mi.us or 248-726-3099. We have people that are literally working around the clock to support your kids. We'll try to get some pictures just so you can understand the context of the work that's being done, and we'll get those on Twitter and Facebook if you haven't seen some of them already. We'll get some of them out there. It's impressive. We are blessed to have the educators and support staff that we have in this community. Question number 60. Heard from a solid source that schools are making technology upgrades and installing 5G infrastructure in schools where they're closed due to the coronavirus. I'd like to confirm with you that our schools will not be receiving any technology upgrades or new infrastructure while the schools are closed. Gretchen, thanks for that question. I am not aware of any 5G infrastructure installations in our school buildings. I suffice it to say that our technology department is focused on supporting your children and supporting our staff so we can stay connected and maintain those important relationships with our students. All right, apparently I sighed yesterday after we got done because it was a lot of questions, so I'm trying not to sigh. I don't mean it the way it might sound. I do want to thank everyone for their attention today. If you've found that this is useful and you'd like to see us do it maybe once a week, I'm happy to do that. I would like to leave you with this. First of all, I want to extend gratitude. Gratitude to our community, gratitude to the parents that have offered support, gratitude to the volunteers in the community, to all of our leaders in the community in the state and federal level. And maybe most importantly, I want to extend gratitude to the fine people that I am blessed and honored to serve with that have been focused on supporting your kids to the best of their possible ability in very, very difficult circumstances. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's continue to lean on each other, support each other, and love each other. Take care. Thank you.